Parashat Vayechi. Before we start this parasha, I would like to dedicate this shiur first of all to the refuah shlema of my two daughters. One of them had surgery, so her name is Clara Rachel Bat Fegel Sarah, and my other daughter Efrat or Effie Bat Fegel Sarah. ולהבדיל בין החיים למתים, shiur is dedicated לעילוי נשמת יוסף בן צבי הירש, ליבה חיה בת רודיה, and Perel bat Yosef Yitzchak Halevi. Parashat Vayechi is the final parasha that in Sefer Bereshit, and starts with the words Vayechi Yaakov be'eretz Mitzrayim sheva asar shana. He lived, and Yaakov lived in Mitzrayim, in the land of Egypt, for 17 years. Now we need to pay attention, of course, to the words. Yaakov is on his deathbed, and he calls upon his sons to give them a blessing and to give him the prophecy of what's going to happen at the end of days, at the end of time. The Zohar explains that not for nothing it says that this nevuah was given to them in Mitzrayim, and also that this level of nevuah that Yaakov was engaged was the same level of nevuah in which Moshe Rabbeinu was at. Now, we know that the rest of the Nevi'im, right, did not reach this level. And how do we know that they both reached this level? Because it's the words Vayechi, right? Because regarding Yaakov, he says, Vayechi Yaakov, and regarding Moshe, he says, V'lo yireni Adam v'chai. So therefore we know that this is, according to the Zohar, refers to this level of, thank you Mote, to this level of Nevuah. Now it's evident that there are 5 different levels of awareness. What we call this, there's 5 different levels of awareness, or what we call of a spiritual awareness that a person can reach. One of them is the awareness of nefesh. Then we have ruach, neshama, chaya, v'yechida. Where the level of nefesh, the awareness of nefesh, is the level of most people. That really is represented by the wills that drives our body and the senses, whether it's touch, food, etc., etc. And you see, most people are kind of stuck in that level. And it's quite evident when they go all aboard that. Now, with the way they eat, or with the way they talk, and so on and so forth, and what they want to see, and so on. And in that level of that nefesh, it's actually being divided in what we call nefesh behemit, the behemic urge, which is really the urges that we need for sustaining our livelihood. And what we call nefesh sichlit. Nefesh sichlit is going to be your intellectual motives, which is going to be curiosity and and the need to know things, and and hunger to know new things, and so on and so forth. The more we develop spiritually, we go up to the levels. We go level by level, up. And hopefully we are developing spiritually. Unfortunately, not everybody's developed spiritually. There are people who are immersed and stuck in that level of not only nefesh sichlit, nefesh behemit, the rest of their lives. Like, basically something like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. That's all they're interested about, if you know what I mean. So, and this is very sad, but however, that's a choice of people to be. When we go to the level, from one level to another level, we can finally reach the level of the word Vayechi. And the word Vayechi really represents the 4th level, which is the level of, when a person reaches this level, that's a level of prophecy, which is called Chaya, livelihood, Chaya. And from that it goes to the, you can reach the level of Yechida, the highest level, the 5th level with Yechida, which is the highest possible level of awareness that was reached one time in history, and that's the level that we all reach when we were at Mount Sinai, when we received the Torah at Mount Sinai. Right, but most people don't reach that. Now, going back to our parasha, the Ralbag, Rabbi Levi
Ben Gershom.
Wow, very nice. Rabbi Levi ben Gershom, which lived in the years
1100s?
1300.
1288 to 1344. And he lived in
Spain.
Provence, right? He was a scientist, he was a mathematician, astronomer, philosopher. It's something unique about the Pirush of the Ralbag that he used to finish every Pirush that he had, every explanation, every commentary that he had on the Torah. He used to divide by what's it called to'alot. To'alot, like benefits. What's the benefit of that? And he used to divide it to basically to three different benefits that you can get from the lessons that you can get from the parasha. And so the first one was deot, in other words, philosophical aspects that really rise up from the parasha. Midot, anything that has to do with fixing up your character and so on and so forth, or behavior. And the third one is really mitzvot. And he writes, which is very interesting, that only a combination of all three categories together can bring you up to internal perfection, to shlemut, to internal harmony that a person can have. And this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu had in mind from, for us, for humans to really reach, by telling us what the Torah is. That's why the Torah recorded very specific conversations and very specific events to really guide us to it. The Torah is not a history book, and it's not God forbid, some kind of a soap opera that we have there. There is a reason, and these are the reasons according to the Ralbag. However, in Parashat Vayechi, the Ralbag identified not 3, but rather 15 different benefits that we could learn and acquire to our spiritual growth. That's why it's very important to read commentators. And if you haven't picked yet a designated commentator for this year, maybe you should pick up the Pirush of the Ralbag and go run with it through the whole entire year. The many of us just since we were talking, we could just do that. So he said the first one is referring to the midot, to the characters, to the way you do things. And it says, and I'm quoting, "Sheraui la'adam sheyoil levanav, kefi ma she'efshar lo kodem oto." A person should do whatever he can to benefit his children before he dies. Now, since we don't know where we're going to die, I guess it's something that really would prolong throughout life, but especially right before a person dies. And he says, "Velezet timtza," and because of that, you would see, "Shehishtadel Yaakov." Yaakov really made an effort, "Lehodia lebanav et asher yakum b'acharit hayamim." Whatever is going to happen at the end of the day. How do you feel now?
A little better.
Okay, take a little bit more.
Thank you.
So, and why is that? Pay attention to what he's saying, which is a very big, message for us. "Lehishtadel bera shelo yagia." Now, what the Ralbag is telling us here is something fascinating. It's not just enough not to do bad things and to do only good things. You need to make an effort, the effort regarding the bad stuff, you need to make an effort to make sure it doesn't arrive to you. And that will be in almost every aspect of your life. Just by you doing the right thing is not good enough. The same thing as we spoke before, if you have somebody who is a bad influence on you, right? You need to do, it's not enough for you to do the mitzvot and to sit down and to do daf yomi and so on and so forth. You need to make sure he doesn't come reach out to you. So either you stop him, right? Or you just break away from him. Don't hang around and linger around people who would be a bad influence to you. Or go into situations which would be bad for you. That we all need to know that. Lishtadel bera shelo yagia. You need to make an effort, or to put boundaries around you, whatever it is, that would not come to you. If you and the most common thing is people who are poisonous. There are certain people who are really poisonous, people who are negative all the time. And by the way, one way to become negative all the time is to be on the phone all the time. Right, David? So be on the phone all the time, that's a bit different, because you are becoming very passive when you are on the phone, watching your, and messaging and TikToking and Instagramming and this whole entire thing. You're becoming very passive, and you don't know what seeds of poison is actually penetrating into your existence. You have no idea. You wanna do l'ishtadel betov? Stay. And what do we say? Sur mera va'aseh tov. You have to separate yourself from bad, and you have to be active about doing good. Both of them are active. Sur mera. Don't just sit there and close yourself. Sur mera. Run away from bad. Whether it's going to be bad ideas, bad people, bad environment, bad community, whatever it is. Sur mera ve'aseh tov. Then you have to stick yourself to good. You have to be active about pursuing good, and yet as active as it is to run away from the bad. And that's what Yaakov is trying to tell his children. However, the Ralbag said the best time to do so is really right before you die. And we'll see exactly why right before you die. What's the importance before you die, especially back then. However, Yaakov wanted to help his children to really not only to help them prevent for something bad happen to them, but really try to help them so they could become the best in which they could become. Now, when we clear a path in such a clear way to any person, the question is, of course, do we leave this person any place for his free choice? And that is beyond the scope of what we're doing now. The answer is, I'll tell you the truth, even if it seems to you on the surface that if you give somebody such a clear path, the free choice will be his choice to follow it or not to follow it. As they say, you can bring the horse to the water, you cannot make it drink. You can drown the horse, but you cannot make it drink. Right? You never heard of that one, I'm a psychologist. Now, based on that, we could, based on what we said so far, we could really conclude and realize the great influence that parents have over their children. Through research, and I'm going to tell you now words that, might be uncomfortable to some of you, and those of you who have kids, please pay attention. Or those of you who don't have kids yet, also pay very close attention. So I would recommend you to put your phones down again. It's through research, it turned out to be that the success of the children in their academics is greatly influenced from the environment at home, in which the parents create to the importance of learning. Whatever you tell your children is important, that they will go after. Now, 33% more than what it will do in school. That there will be 33%. The influence of the quality of the school, or which school you said, is that a good school or a bad school, will be only 7%. Or, to that matter, the quality of your teachers, there will be only 13%. 33% of the success of the children in the school will be on the attitude of the parents, needless to say the environment in which the parents create a home, but rather the importance of which parents put to success in learning. If the parents will tell the child morning until night, and not only tell him, or just talks about the importance of making the money and not going to school, guess what? The kid is not going to go to school. And he's not going to do well in school. So parents, in this everlasting argument between parents and teachers, who is more responsible for the success of the child in school, I got to tell you this, parents, the teachers have a point. The teachers have a point. They are only responsible for 13% of the success. You as a parent for 33%. That's crucial. If you want to know a little bit more about the influence of parents, regardless of the environment, go look at the story of Ben Carson. You all know Ben Carson, right? It's a true example of the importance of parents and what does it do with a child. Or how would the child interact in his achievement in school. So maybe you should stop talking about at home about how important it is to make money and more important how it is to go to school. Because I'm going to tell you something. If you're going to teach your kids that money is just important, you're failing out on something great, because you're teaching your kid that school is not important, learning is not important. Money is money. However, you should know that the way you do something is the way you do everything. And if you teach your children not to be serious about school, you teaching your kids not to be serious about everything else they do in life. And that will be on their effort towards their spouses, towards their children, towards everything you do. And that just get it into your heads. And accept the fact that you are doing something wrong before it's too late. Fix it. Stop talking in front of your kids. Hey, can you just move a second? It's just moving the thing. Stop talking about your kids all the time about how important it is to make another dollar, because the kid will grow. That's all he cares about. And he would not necessarily pick the right way to pick a dollar. You got to be very careful. Very careful. That's the influence of parents over the education of the children. But we as parents, of course, we love all our children, and we are, however, you should know that you're a different parent to a different child. You don't educate all your children. You don't interact with your children all the same way. Because every child is different. With every kid, you have a different connection, and you also a different stage in your life. If, for example, you have 5 kids, and when you had your first kid when you were 25, and when you have your last kid, you were 35, you're in a different place in your life. So you got to be very, very careful. We also have to realize and acknowledge that we should stop complaining about how come my parents treated me like this and my sister or my brother that way. Because as much as your parents are parents to every other child, right? You need to understand that each one deserves something else. You're also a brother to a brother in different ways. You don't interact with your siblings all the same way. And your interaction with your parents is different than everyone. You need to accept it. In other words, that's a certain level of maturity that unfortunately most people don't reach, because my parents treated this brother better than me, and so on and so forth. Why me, and so on and so forth. There is a correlation for that as well, something similar, and that's why it was picked out also in this week's Haftarah. In the Haftarah, David HaMelech in Sefer Melachim, Kings, chapter 18b. Right? He also sends his son Shlomo, King Solomon, on a certain path, on a very clear path. And he says, "V'chazakta ve'ayita leish." You should really toughen yourself up and become a man. In other words, grow up already, baby. Grow up. The worst thing that a parent can do for his child is prevent him from growing up. In other words, if you have a kid who's 20 years old, let go, man. Let go. Let this kid grow. Stop babysitting him. You don't need to go on vacation with your kid when he's 20 years old or 25 years old or 18 years old. How do you expect this child to get married and to be an adult when you still drag your kids with you to vacation? That's not normal. And it's not right. That's why, together with this spiritual will that he gives us of David HaMelech, right, in terms of emunah, chazakta, ve'ematzta, ve'ita leish, and so on and so forth, he also gives Shlomo HaMelech a whole list of businesses that he needs to close and to take care of, right? Yes, a part of it is for his own honor, he needs not to be disgraced, but also in order to protect his kingdom, because how do you protect the kingdom? When you are a new king and you don't have old enemies, so that you need to close the business. And it seems that both Yaakov and David lead their children in a very clear path, where it's well directed, and from the security and the trust that they have in their ability and their experience as parents to give the best for their children. By the way, a similar idea you could also find regarding the education of how to educate the kids in the special Iger, the special note that the Chazon Ish had regarding Chinuch. And he writes the following: Keshem she'hapashtut ve'ha'emet, simplicity and truth are similar words, similar concept. Ken ha'kitzoniyut ve'hagadlut En shemot nirdafim. Also, which seems quite interesting, radicalism is something that we should strive. What does it exactly mean? What is the Chazon Ish telling us here? The Chazon Ish defines the concept of radicalism in the context in which he's talking about. When we say kitzoni, it's not radicalism. The idea behind it is really becoming best on a topic, becoming good at something. In other words, become an expert in something. And he writes that the person who strives to become mediocre, he kind of gets repulsed by becoming the best, because you choose to become mediocre. And his part, the Chazon Ish writes, is with zayfanim, with those who are forgers, with people who are not truthful. When you say, I want to become mediocre, you're basically saying you're an untruthful person. It's very uneasy for you to hear that, but somebody needs to tell you this. The declaration of loving, when a person declares that he loves and appreciates a certain idea, a certain concept in his life, right? When it really seems that he really doesn't appreciate that, right? Is basically a lie. Why? Because when you say, oh, this is something very important to me, and you're not trying to do your best on that matter, you're basically lying. It's a fake. When you tell me that your family is the most important thing for you, and your actions show something else, well, how does this come along to be a truthful statement? How? When you tell me that Torah is very important to you, and you never open a book, or you never show up to learn, how is this important to you? When you're going to tell your children that Torah is important to you, when you don't learn, your kids are going to identify that you're lying. And that doesn't work like this. That is also self-deceiving. You deceive yourself all the time. You tell yourself stories. And lack of understanding this is a lack of understanding how things really work. Because seeing something as something that a topic or an idea or an act or a craft, that's something that it's central in your life and you love it, really demands a strive to become best in it. It's natural. It's natural. And when you don't do it, you're not truthful. So therefore, by the Chazon Ish, the kitzoniyut is not what we call radical. That's not radical. But rather kitzoniyut, by the Chazon Ish, is the will to become good as much as you can in whatever it is that you do. When you become the husband, try to become the best husband. When you become, you become a barber, try to become the best barber. Don't say, okay, I'm okay where I am. People that don't strive to grow is an indication for them, it's an indication about them that they're not a truthful person. When they're not willing to put the effort. Nobody wants you to have the result. But you are expected to really, walk the walk, not just talk the talk. And that is when you tell me that you like your kids, How do you exactly educate your kids? If you want to educate your kids, you don't have time for friends. You got to be with your kids. If you really love your wife and you want to spend time with your wife, hey, you don't have time to hang around with buddies. You want to hang around with buddies? Not a problem. Don't get married. Hang around with buddies all day long. You have no business going on a date if you want to hang around with buddies. You want to hang around with your friends? Sit down and learn Torah. That will be a benefit for your wife. Are you good at something? Again, is there anything that you could show to yourself that you're good at besides deceiving yourself? We're all experts in deceiving ourselves. But you're good at something. The fact, by the way, that you got a certain certificate doesn't mean you're good at it. It just means a certain milestone you reach. You're not good at it yet. Whether you're a rabbi or a doctor or a PhD or a lawyer or whatever it is. Are you at the level that you could really be? Okay, so let's say you got a PhD now in psychology. Are you at the level of expertise, or are you a real? Actually, you just got a certificate, or you became a rabbi. Are you really at that level? I mean, if you're a rabbi, are you, and Rabbi Vadia is a rabbi, are you the same rabbis? He's a rabbi, you're a rabbi. He's a doctor, you're a doctor. Are you at that level? You're not. If you got a PhD in chemistry, are you at the level of the guy who is going to win Nobel Prize in chemistry? It doesn't mean that. The only way you're going to reach is if you're going to continue going and be truthful about it. One of the problems is that we don't become good at something, is we go into paths in our life which we don't really like. Because we want somebody else's approval, not because what we really like. And then you cannot be truthful with yourself because you can push yourself to do it. And that's something you really got to think about. Yaakov went to Mitzrayim. What's the matter with us? Yaakov went to Mitzrayim, and because he knew that he needs to really lay the ground for the next generation to prepare them to collect what we call the holy sparks from Egypt, which Egypt was the most impure place on earth in terms of what was going on there, you know. Not so far from what we are today. And Egypt refers to as the furnace, right? When you the forge, the furnace where you actually smelt the ore and they create metal, pure metal from. The place where all the souls that Am Israel was created from were collected to, and our whole staying in Egypt was to purify us and to fix those souls that would not fix in Dor Mabul. Why? Because it says, because of that, it says, Kol haben hayo tashlichenu. Kol haben hanolad. Any boar, you have to throw him into the river, because that was the tikkun. And also in Dor Palaga, right? If you talk about Dor Palaga, when they build the Tower of Babel, it says, Hava nelabna levenim. Let's make bricks. That's exactly what happened in Mitzrayim. The tikkun of them was to make the bricks. Jews did not build the pyramids, but rather the Jews of Bnei Israel in Egypt built the cities at which the workers were staying. The cities are the cities of Pitom and the city of Ramses. And today you could go to the city of Ramses. It's near Luxor, somewhere over there. These are the cities in which they were built for the workers. So they had to build the bricks, not for the pyramids. And so for 400 years, through tremendous suffering and so on, Am Israel was created until the point that we were ready to come out of the smelter, out of the forge, and to bring us to that level of, into the desert, into Har Sinai, and then receiving the Torah in Har Sinai. Yaakov, by the way, in this process, right here, before our death, and this is a very, in a way, sad time, but yet amazing time, Yaakov fully becomes Israel at that point. In other words, he was able to complete a tremendous transformation in his life. He was transformed from Yaakov to Israel, and we see this back and forward all the time. Of one time he's called Yaakov, one time he's called Israel, but right now, he is at the level of Israel, complete Israel. There's no more going back to Yaakov. And a tremendous part in this transformation of becoming Israel is really filling space with the truth, with the concept of the truth. In other words, fill or flood the awareness with the truth. We cannot become full unless we reach that level of truth. To bring it on the surface and to reveal it, to be able to reveal the truth, not to hide the truth, without hiding or disguising, God forbid, so the brothers would not die before, would not fight. At one time somebody told me, he said, listen, I'm doing A, B, and C because I don't want my children to fight after my death. That is a fake statement. Yaakov Avinu is not afraid about this. Oh, I'm going to cover the truth so there's not going to be any animosity. I'm going to cover the truth so there won't be fighting. That's not really what it is. Yaakov also knows he has to say the truth, like most people like to create a fake harmony. Everybody's good, everybody's happy, everybody's mindful. That's baloney. I'm not saying you should not be mindful, but be really truthful about it. Most people say everything is good. Sometimes it really bothers me when people, it not bothers me, I understand because it became a slogan without really thinking about it. You see a person, how's everything? Baruch Hashem. Then he gives you a whole entire list of things are bad. So it's really Baruch Hashem? Everything is bad? I don't understand. Do you really mean what you say? Say, listen, Yaakov Avinu did not have a hard time telling him, Paro, listen, I had two lives and they were really bad and they were really suffering. Yaakov Avinu did not want Paro last week, right? Yaakov Avinu did not want Paro to feel bad for him. Yaakov Avinu told him the truth. Yes, my life were hard. They were bad. It was not easy.
You got punished for that.
Excuse me?
You got punished for that.
That's why you think you got punished for it. Where did he say in the Torah you got punished for it? I don't think the Ibn Ezra will tell you got punished for it. Do you understand? Say the truth. Yeah, it was hard. But you know what? It was hard. But Baruch Hashem, I'm here. I'm good. I'm right now. I'm here. I am where I am. You should know, as they say, usually the most difficult road, most of the time, bring you to the most beautiful places. And that's the journey of Am Yisrael, by the way. I don't know if any of you, ever going to go on a 4x4 trip to a place that is going to be really rugged and really hard with no showers and dust. But I can guarantee you're going to see places that you're never going to see before. And most people would never see in their lives. What kind of a journey do you want? You want to go on a highway? All your life on a highway? You're not going to see anything on a highway. You need to get off the highway. You got to take the winding roads. You got to tough it up. And that's exactly what it was. Yaakov was not complaining. He said, listen, that's where we're at. So we have to say things without any kind of fear, with any kind of cheshbonot, any kind of calculation, and to really say the truth. And maybe along the line to give a little bit of direction and some kind of guidance in this time. There's nothing that is bad or not right for a parent to really recommend his children to which way they should take and which path they should take and so on and so forth. Even if it takes a tremendous transformation from the kids and tremendous change, if you see your kid is doing something wrong, please tell them that. Don't make excuses why it's okay for your kid to do what he's doing. For example, if you see your kid smoking pot like it's going out of season, tell him, buddy, it's wrong what you're doing. Don't justify it. Well, he's going to grow out of it. Don't justify it. I hate when parents say, oh, don't worry, he's going to grow out of it. You see your kid is suffering or going through some difficulties. Don't just sit there and wait for things to happen. Tell them, listen, if you need help, I'll help you. I'm here for you. Let's go to rehab. And don't tell me no, right? Do something. Right? You see your kid struggling with something, I don't know, he's suffering from tremendous, he can't sit down, get him evaluated. Don't let, he's going to grow out of it. When you tell me, he's going to grow out of it, basically you tell me, I don't want to deal with it. And I'm sure if you work with kids, you hear this all the time. Don't worry. Listen, your kid cannot sit 5 minutes in the class. He gets up 50 times, walks out. I think he has ADHD. Don't worry, he's going to grow out of it. That doesn't work. You don't, by the way, you should know, you don't grow out of ADHD. You don't grow out of it. Whether it's a hyperactive component or ADD or ADHD, you don't grow out of it. You always have it. And it's going to chase you all your life. You're going to deal with it like anything else. It's okay for a parent to tell your son, listen, you're not doing the right thing. However, that needs to be completely objective. And even if it comes to, to something that is painful. But only if you are a truthful person. If you don't have any other, hidden agendas under the surface. Yaakov Avinu reached this level that he gets the ability to say it as it is, to say the truth as it is in the most objective way. So therefore, no hard feeling. It was objective. Yaakov Avinu, listen, he was about to die. He has nothing to get out of it besides what he wants best for his kids. Most parents, or many parents, will tell you, I really want what's best for my kids. And you're going to give them advice that's going to destroy them. Because you're subjective on that. You're not objective. If you don't live truthful life, you cannot give anybody, including your kids, a good advice. When a person reaches this kind of a level, or this kind of a point from his life, he should know only a person like this is truthfully free. All this system of lies and all this apparatus of lies that we build around us all the time, all our lives, are basically chains and ropes that really ties us and enslave us and prevents us from growing. All the stories that we tell everybody, we tell about our lives, all these excuses that we make on our lives all the time, these are the things that really enslave us all the time and prevent us to grow, to be able to reach the truth. And you know, it's sad. We develop a whole system of a whole industry of lies around ourselves, of excuses, why this and why that, instead of just touching the truth. And it really comes as a continuation of what the parents did to the children. How the parents interacted with the kids, which was not truthful, because they're themselves like this. That needs to break. Yaakov Avinu says, listen, I'm about to die. That needs to break. And believe me, I still remember that probably the most meaningful conversation that I had with my dad in all my life was before he died. And it wasn't more than one sentence that my father told me. I'm not going to repeat it because it's with me and my dad. But it was better than any compliment I got in my life. Or I didn't get in my life. Because at that point, my father reached a point of complete truthfulness. Now, when, you know, through the thousands of generations that Am Yisrael was able to come out of bad situation, came out always strong, and really were able to really make the best out of even the worst situation that came to our ways. And you see it throughout history all the time. Whether it was the slavery in Egypt, we reached a certain level of Har Sinai, and after the first destruction of the temple. By the way, anybody knows where the temple is, or was?
I think it's in Jerusalem.
The temple is in Jerusalem, and you know where? Anybody knows where? On the Temple Mount. And you know right now what is on the Temple Mount? There is the Temple Mount is a mosque. Exactly. The Temple Mount was occupied. It's occupied territory by Muslims that took it over from the Jews. Yes, I agree. It is occupied territory, but just for the wrong people. And if you don't feel the truth, somebody else will feel it and will tell you it's a lie. You need to feel the truth, and you need to know that. And after that, what we had the miracle of Purim, and whatever comes out in Megillat Esther, and the result of that was building the second Bet HaMikdash. After the destruction of the second temple, which by the way was on the same spot, just to let you know, it was on the same spot, right? We had the Mishnah, we had the Gemara, we had the Zohar. After the expulsion from Spain, and when was it? 1492. What day?
Tisha B'Av.
Tisha B'Av. That's right. Tisha B'Av, 1492. Ferdinand and Isabel kicked the Jews out along the line. They actually butchered and massacred over 150,000 Jews, burnt them on stake, and another 150 they forced to convert. And you should know, as I sent it to you, a lot of those people actually went to the New World, and a lot of people in South America or Central America actually have Jewish roots in them. So after the expulsion of Spain, we had the We had the golden era of Tzfat and the Mekubalim in Tzfat, and the flourishing of Kabbalah, the Shulchan Aruch, etc., etc., etc. After the Holocaust, the terrible Holocaust, we are still in the process of having the state of Israel. And really the message of this parasha really is, according to the Zohar, is in the point that Yaakov, as we said, reached the highest level. Where? To show us, to teach us. Only in Mitzrayim he was able to reach that level. In the darkest place he was able to do so. And really, as we say, Egypt symbolizes the lowest place in which a person can fall to, and the breakage of a heart that comes, the kind of depression that a person feels when he falls to such a low place. The secret of life and the secret of Sefer Bereshit, the book of Genesis, that really deals with people, is in falling down, in having difficulties, in making mistakes. And this is what we go through all the time, and that's why I'm not always trying to listen. Again, I said it a million times about the greatness of our forefathers, the patriarchs, the matriarchs, and everybody else that came after them, in terms of the amazing people that they were and what they were. But for whatever reason, the Torah always tries to show us their mistakes for two reasons. First of all, so we never claim that anybody is God, including Moses. And second, to show us their mistakes so we can fix it. To show us that even great people make mistakes. However, the greatness is by their ability to snap out of those mistakes, to take this downfall and to create a catapult to really bring them to a higher height, to a higher level in which they were before. And so is for us. The Torah sees any falling down an opportunity to really elevate ourselves above our old nature, our old natural thing. And that's what Rav Nachman says. You go one step down, two steps up. And that's what it says in Tehillim, that the tzaddik, a righteous person, is not the person who doesn't sin, is the person that stumbles 7 times and yet keeps on getting up, the 8th time, and then he gets up. And by doing so, by getting up and fixing ourselves, we really are able to see and create a new future that was better than anything we expected and anything better than we could imagine. And that good future can only come from the rabble of the past, from the destruction of the past. That's what we bring it up. It's like the Jewish people are like the Sphinx, that from the ashes rises this majestic creature. Am Yisrael is like this. That's why Rav Nachman says, "En yeush ba'olam." There's no such thing as giving up. Never give up. Even if you fell down, sit down, evaluate what happened to you, debrief yourself of what exactly happened, and create a better future for yourself. The same thing for us. I really hope that tomorrow we don't have to fast. Even though it's Friday, hopefully Mashiach will come and we don't have to fast. But if not, let it be the last time that we're going to fast, and we really will be able to all pick ourselves and build a better future for ourselves and better future for the whole entire world. Shabbat Shalom.